is DB. In this video, we're going to look at a few problems from the graphing using slope-intercept form of a line. And there's another video for this assignment that goes over some of these by Khan Academy, so watch that one too. Alright, so this first part is about how to graph using slope and y-intercept, and then you're giving a matching problem here. So the first thing that you will do when you're given a slope and a y-intercept is find the y-intercept. So the y-intercept in number 1 is -4. So if you were asked to graph this line, the first thing you would do is plot the point -4 on the y-axis. So it looks like this one right here has a point at -4. So let's see if the second part of this, the slope, will match graph A. Then it says the slope is 1/2. Well, if I was graphing this by hand, I would start at the y-intercept. I'd start at this point, and then I would apply the slope. So the slope is 1/2. That means that the rise is 1, or up 1, and the run is 2, which means to the right. So this means up because it's positive, and this means to the right. So from the point that I just graphed, I will go up 1, and then I will go to the right 1, 2, and I'll put another point. And since that point is on the line, number 1 is going to be matched with graph A. Now, if the slope is negative, like in number 2, you would write that first as a fraction by putting a 1 under it, -5/1. And then that means to go down 5 and to the right 1. So you will always go to the right, but if it is a positive slope, you go up, and if it's a negative slope, you go down for the top number. And also, you always start with the y-intercept. So you'll always put the y-intercept on the graph first, and then from that point, you'll go down 5 and to the right 1. So I'm going to let you do 2 and 3 by yourself, but keep that in mind that you start with the y-intercept and then apply the slope. In 4 and 5, you're going to name the slope in the y-intercept. So we've already spent some time working on finding the slope. So you will do that by either picking 2 points on the graph and using the slope formula, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, or you can use the slope triangle, which is when you find 2 nice points on your graph, like maybe these 2, and then you go straight down and straight across to make a little right triangle, find the rise and the run. This is a downhill slope, so it's going to be 2/2, but it's going to be negative, so that simplifies to -1. And then you put that in for the slope, and you still have to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the point at which it crosses the y-axis. So you just have to write on this one that it's 2 because it crosses the y-axis at 2. And then do the same thing for number 5. And you're also going to do the same thing for 6, 7, and 8. Watch the other video to check your answers on this because these are done in the other video. All right, numbers 9, 10, and 11, you're just going to name the slope and y-intercept from the equation. So if you take the slope and put it before the x and then add the y-intercept at the end, this is called slope-intercept form of a line. So in y equals mx plus b, the slope is the number written in front of the x. We use m to stand for that. And the y-intercept is added or subtracted from the end. So all you have to do is find the slope and then write it down here. And then look for the y-intercept and write it here. If it's minus at the end, then that's a negative y-intercept. And then in 12, 13, 14, all you have to do is take your equation again, y equals mx plus b, replace m with the slope, and replace, I'll use another color here, replace b with the y-intercept. So you just take and put the slope in here, and you put the y-intercept in here, and your equation will still have a y and an x in it. So you'll write y equals, and then you put your slope, 1/4, and then you write x, have to write x, and then you put plus your y-intercept. So the slope and the y-intercept get replaced with m and b, but you'll still have an x and a y in your equation. And then finally, on the last part, you're going to actually graph. So using your tools in Word, you can graph this, or you can write this on your own paper and then take a picture if you prefer to do it on your own paper. I'm going to try to resize this so that you can see the word tools that are the easiest to use here. All right, so I'm going to go to Insert, come on, and then Shapes. And I'm going to get I'll get the point, the circle tool. It's not really a point, but it's a little circle. And the first thing I'm going to do is the y-intercept right here. So I am going to, I think I lost it because I moved it around. I'm going to put a point at the y-axis right at 5. So that would be right on the y-axis at 5. And you can fill your point in if you want, or you can just leave it as an open circle. And then I'm going to put another point where the slope would be. So the slope is going to be at 2, oops, I want to draw, but I cannot. There we go. The slope is at 2 over 1. If they just give you one number for the slope, that really means 2 over 1. And that means from the point I already graphed, I'm going to go up 2 and then to the right 1. So it's hard to do that with such teeny tiny little spacing. And then I'm going to go back to my insert, and I'm going to get my straight line tool. I don't care if you get the one with the arrows at both ends like you're supposed to, but you don't want to make your line this big. Oh, it did not work. Insert, Shapes, and get my line tool. So I'm supposed to draw a line here, but that line's too short. I need my line to go both directions through my 2 points and extend to the edges of the graph in both directions. So that's how you can draw the line in Word. And that is the graph y equals 2x plus 5. It'll be a line and it'll look like that. All right, and I think there's one more like that. Oh, 2 more like that. And there's some hints on these, like number 18. It says y equals 5. Well, that could be written as y equals 0x plus 5. So I know I need a point at 5, like we did on the last one too. But there's no slope. The slope is 0. So think back. If the slope is 0, what kind of line has a slope of 0? And the answer is horizontal. And if you remember earlier, we talked about the equations of horizontal lines. All horizontal lines have the form y equals and then some number. So this will be a horizontal line going through at y equals 5. So I'm just going to grab a line. I don't really need points for this one because I know that it's going to go through the y-axis at 5, because that is the y-intercept. So I'm just going to graph my line like that. Oops. I'm not sure why it turned gray. Try a different color. Oh, there, it's black again. Okay, we'll leave it like that. And then in number 19, it says to write this in slope-intercept form. All that means is to make it so that it's y equals. Right now, it's 2x plus y. And I want y equals and then something x plus something. So what do you do to this to move it to the other side? How do you undo a plus 2x? The answer would be you would subtract 2x. And then you'll have a negative 2x, and then just write the plus 3 after it, and then graph it here. All right, remember to watch the other video for some more help, and thank you very much. Have a great day.